Legend says, on St. Patrick's Day, a beard without oil is just a chin with ambition. But a beard with soft disclosure beard oil, that's true treasure. Spiced vanilla, naked, smooth as a leprechaun's getaway plan. Soft enough to impress your barber, bold enough to confuse a baby goat. And this boar bristle brush tames your beard like it holds the crown coin. Every bottle is American made, which means when you buy Soft Disclosure, you're supporting 6 American small businesses. That's not luck, that's capitalism with cheekbones. And while you're at it, try our mint green deodorant, because even legends need fresh pits. Soft Disclosure, go for gold. Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code TINYBRIGHT for 15% off.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. Promo code does not apply to bundle discounts.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Culture of Change. It is it's going to be a great show. We're going to go hard. Ghost and I have been talking. We've been talking about it. We're going to talk about all of the things that people want us not to talk about. We've been trying to make us stop talking about. Not going to happen. We're going to talk about all the things. I'm joined by the ghost of bass Patrick Henry this evening. What's up, dude? And thank you, Gordon, for being here.
Of course. Yeah, this is I'm actually glad that this worked out in terms of being able to do this, because in the private chat I've already been talking about this for close to a week now. I mean, and finally got to write about it in the brief last night, but yeah, this is something that I've been tracking for years, and now it appears that the op is finally it's finally like making landfall. Like this hurricane has been kind of like gathering momentum out in the ocean, and now it's finally making landfall.
And it is, so you see folks can see the First Amendment is scrolling across the top of the screen. I might just do that on all my shows now.
I like that.
Just taps the sign, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the First Amendment, what it protects, where the limitations are. We're going to talk about some of the viewpoint discrimination and narratives that we're seeing, not, like all over the country. I had a really interesting conversation last night with a journalist out in San Diego, California, talking about what's happening in the schools out there. And of course, being in Colorado, where schools are hotbeds of programming and conditioning for the youth. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of these narratives. We're going to talk about the midterms. We're going to talk about the war in Iran. We're going to talk about the U.S. support for Israel and whatever else comes up. Phobias and isms will probably make an appearance. Randy Fine is a massive tool. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fun. You and I both did Tucker Carlson takes. I think they were different.
Yeah.
And so we should talk about that too. And if you folks aren't reading the brief every morning, Monday through Friday, you should check it out. Badlands.substack.com. Ghost and Burning Bright and I put out the brief 5 days a week. And we give you the facts of a story, and then we give you our opinion about the story. We separate those things, so it's very clear that these are the facts. This is our opinion. And yeah, it's been a weird week, man. It's like since beginning last Tuesday, Brian and I did a show on book club that led to some very weird things happening, and he and I will talk about them in some detail on tomorrow's show. Then
I look forward to hearing that. Just understanding only glimpses of what I'd seen y'all saying. I'm interested to hear more about that in depth.
Yeah, and then we had other calls. We did part 3 of Chuckabee and the Jews last week, which I thought was a respectful and kind of fact and scripture based look at the Tucker Carlson, Mike Huckabee interview in Israel. Apparently it was very triggering for some, and called again, just led to weird stuff. Lots of weird, I think one of the kind of themes of tonight is that the truth community has an honesty problem. and many truthers have become gatekeepers. And the reason I'm so glad you're joining me, and that I think this is an important topic to have on this show, is that the first culture of change that I did after the 2024 election was with 2 hosts ago. And the substance of that discussion was the golden age. What do we think is going to happen with Doge? What do we think is in the future? And my position on this was then and remains that we are in a transformation program. And we talk about a lot of transformation programs on this show because we look at globalism, we look at the World Economic Forum and the UN and the private entities like McKinsey and the other consulting firms, and how they have been shaping the world. And that is how that system, that globalist system, is how you can have the World Economic Forum, or you can have rather the UN come up with the Sustainable Development Goals, the Millennium Goals, and then the Sustainable Development Goals, and get buy-in, what we call leadership alignment in the change management world. Get leadership alignment on where we're, yes, we as a world believe that these sustainable development goals are the right way. And then that system takes those ideas and bakes them in and drives them down through every industry and every sector and every geography in the world. So the sustainable development goals are developed at the UN, and within a few years, they are showing up in my kids' classroom here in the United States of America. And that is how it works across all domains, every industry and every sector. And so that's what I think we're fighting. And I've been consistent on that. I don't think that we're fighting Democrats. Right. I think certainly Republicans are fighting Democrats. I haven't been a Republican since 2011, but certainly Republicans are fighting Democrats. But like in a playpen with no real power, because the public-private partnership has the power, and the private aspect of the public-private partnership is what gives the government plausible deniability. And so we're going to talk about all of these kinds of themes. The thing that I think is so, kind of relevant to right now is in that show, the first one after the election, we talked about between now and then, right? The first culture of change after the election. Between then and July 4th, 2026, when President Trump tells us that we are going to have a party because, we're kicking off the golden age, and it is America's 250th birthday, and we're going to be celebrating all of our wins and how amazing it is. My position then, and I maintain it, I think it's actually proven out, is that there is going to be a very kind of destructive phase. There is, because when you do a transformation program, you cannot allow old power structures to exist. You have to find out where the change resistance is and neutralize it. You have to go in and break the systems of control that are subverting the established systems of authority. And I think we see that. Yep. I think that's certainly what we've been through in the past. What has it been? 15 months? Not even.
Yeah.
Months. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, yes, I agree with everything you just said. I would add the caveat that if anything, I've said this for a long time, and it triggers some people, and that's fine. I think we're fighting the Republican Party. I think the Republican Party, if you want to talk about gatekeeping.
Yeah.
The ultimate gatekeeper of the conservative movement is the Republican Party, because they're the ones who keep us from actually having a voice in the government, right? I mean, the Democrats can exist all day in a real like free and fair system and free and fair elections. The Democrat Party can exist all day, right? But as long as we have a voice and we actually can put our people in and we actually can get real representation, we could crush the Democrats. Like we can crush this ridiculous, whatever this thing is that these people have come up with, which is, mental illness basically on parade. We could crush it.
Democrats and Republicans aren't real though, right?
Exactly.
That is just theater.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is that the Republican Party is like a sedative for the conservative movement. Yeah. It's like this false, it's the blue pill. It's like this false promise that you're being represented in the government. So, okay, thank God, Lindsey Graham's in office. Like he's taking care of me. Thank God, the Republicans control the Senate. Oh, I can go. I can.
Yeah, that's working out for us well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why I get so angry and so Like, I'm so hyper focused on the Republican Party because, you know, if you really wanted to focus on the two-party system, like, who cares about the Democrats? I think it's a dead brand. I think, I don't think they're ever going to win a national election again in a free and fair, or maybe they never would have. But I'm just saying, I don't think they have any public mandate. I think their public mandate is gone because their social incentive, like coercive structure, is gone. Right, the way they coerced people into adopting arguments that they couldn't defend. And by the way, I loved the Badlands Blitz on Saturday. I thought y'all did a great
Oh,
job.
thank you.
And I love,
I think it was my favorite one that we've done so far.
yeah, and I thought, and I think that was such a great way of putting it. And I'm sure Chris has probably said that, and it just didn't click with me. But but that is what it is. Like, these struggle sessions that they put us through, whether it's the Republicans doing it or the Democrats doing it, they are forcing you to adopt a position that they can't defend, and so they're using emotional blackmail to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the so elections are fake. And we're going to talk about voting and the midterms and the pressure tactic and fear tactic of, oh my gosh, you're going to make us lose the midterms. Well, we won the Congress, the House and the Senate in the last election. And again, has that worked out for us? No. Do we see the agenda being codified into law? Has it been really great that we've had the Republicans in charge? Has it been meaningfully different than having the Democrats in charge? And then the response that you'll get is they're going to impeach him if we allow the Democrats to have control again. So Trump is going to be impeached, and then his agenda is going to be stalled. And it's like, but hang on a second, guys. Republicans have control right now, and his agenda is stalled. Yeah. So what are we doing, and what are we afraid of, and why are we censoring the truth about this very important issue? It is the First Amendment, hill to die on, but even that means nothing if we have fake elections. If we don't, if the mechanism by which we give consent to be governed is theater, it is politically drawn districts by people who have an agenda that is not fairly drawing districts for the will of the people, and we know that's the case because in the Louisiana case at SCOTUS, they all just said it and agreed, right? Well, we have to be able to draw a district that allows us to protect the Speaker of the House. And the justices are like, well, yeah, of course. And Brian and I were like, what? Like, what about the compact, like the what's laid out in the statute about how districts are to be drawn? Well, yeah, but also, we need Mike Johnson's district to be protected. The political drawing of districts means that the will is initially being manipulated, whose will falls into which camp, right? But then you have fake voters, fake ballots, and fake counts. You have inflated voter rolls. And just a reminder, everyone, all shows are why we vote now. Although I made a caveat last night because someone said, or Jessica was like, are you doing Tuckabee and the Jews part 4? And my response was, all shows are Tuckabee and the Jews.
All shows are Tuckabee and the Jews now. Yeah.
But all shows are why we vote. Yep. For sure, because this issue is fracturing families. It is driving wedges in between people because because of this fear. This happens every 2 years. I'll tell you, the first time.
I can't believe it's happening again. I honestly can't believe it's happening again. I thought we all made an agreement in November 24 that we weren't going to do this again. Like I thought everyone was like, okay, next time Trump's not going to be on the ballot. This is bullshit. Like, we're not going to do this again. We're going to fight and get our government back before the next election. And now people are literally saying you can't do that or else we're going to lose a fake election. And I'm not even like the election integrity guy. And it's making me livid.
It's just logically inconsistent.
Yes.
And it's dishonest. And then when you point out that it's logically inconsistent, that it's a dishonest argument, then you get called names and told that you're, subversive and dangerous and
betraying Trump. You're betraying Trump, even though Trump is out there saying that
he's the number one guy.
The elections are all fake. He's like, yeah, the elections are all fake. It's all bullshit.
Yeah. Trump, if you believe that whole thing, he said about the 2024 election.
If you believe that whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about all these things. We'll do all of that and more. Speaking of struggle sessions, Laura Loomer is having one in India, and it's hilarious. So
oh my god, that was amazing.
racist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. It was great.
So there's a bunch of stuff. Before we do that, we already heard from our friends at Soft Disclosure. We are also going to talk for processing. Oh, I don't have it in here. Okay, you talk for a second.
Okay, yeah. So the other thing I would say, like on top of because you have layers of fraud. Like there's layers of fraud. There's the election, which has the election integrity stuff, which has its own layers that you just kind of ran through. But then on top of that, you have like you have the money, like the money in the politics, right? Lobbies like that control. Like so, even if you get your guy in, he's gonna get bought off by donors. Like he's gonna have to, favors. Like, hey, if you want money for your TV ads, like you're gonna have to do this for me, right?
Yep.
Then on top of that, you have like the machinations. You have the people doing the political intrigue. You have the people doing the cloak and dagger stuff. Like cutting deals in DC. Then you have like the like honeypot intelligence stuff, like people being blackmailed, people being coerced.
Yep.
Like actual criminality. And then you just have like run of the mill, just people just being immoral and succumbing to greed and engaging in all kinds of their own corruption. That's not like an external force on them. It's just them actually going out and doing corruption. And then there's probably other ones too. But I'm just saying all of these are just different layers of fraud. And we can't even get to those upper layers because we can't even get through the first one. The first one is the election integrity. And then you have the lying media. The media just masks the whole thing. It basically takes this big pile of dog shit and then it puts lips. It paints it up and makes it look all nice and pretty and sparkly for you, so that you don't realize that it's a big pile of dog shit.
And I would say too, within each one of those buckets, there are layers and layers.
Oh,
because
for sure.
This system is duct tape and popsicle sticks that's been built, for the past 80 years, post World War II order. That is, it's a consensus driven model. It's a trust the experts model. And one of the things that I think is really interesting to see, we probably won't get too much into this tonight, but with the war in Iran, right? The argument that we're being told, if we're not being given a religious argument, then the other argument that we are being told is, well, they're going to shoot America with nukes, right? So and that's fear. That's a fear-based argument, but it's a fear-based argument that the answer to it is we have to still be the policeman of the world. And that's one of the things that's most crazy to me about this, because President Trump has been very clear that I think he's been very clear that system has fucked the American people, and we're not doing that anymore. We're changing it. And I think that is why that system, the people that on November, what was it? November 8th, I think, was the election in 2016. Is that the right day? 5th or 8th?
That sounds right. That could be right.
Right. The next day, the entire world turned like rabid Trump deranged, right? Certainly the heads of institutions, the media, former friends of his, right? All of a sudden, he was the biggest bad there ever was. It wasn't because he was the biggest bad there ever was, right? It wasn't that Donald Trump did such terrible things. It wasn't because he said that when you're a billionaire, women will let you grab them by the pussy. Some women will.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're taught when you just go look around, go look at the entourage around a pop star or a movie star or a billionaire, right?
Yeah, just any guy with money.
Butt ass ugly. They have really beautiful women. Why? Because they're billionaires, and those women are letting those men grab them by the pussy. Trump said it, and it was like, he was committing a sexual assault by saying, but with his words, right? That was all artifice for the fact that he was coming for their system. This system that they have all figured out how to exploit. They've all got their piece. They've all got their cut. All of these different domains where all of the people immediately flipped. And, Trump was public enemy number one. It's because he's going after their incentives. Taking down this system destroys their incentives. And that's still, in my opinion, what we're doing, right? We haven't defeated that system. We've
not even close. Not even
landed
close.
Some good blows, right? the exposure of it and people's awareness of the system we're definitely further along, but we haven't defeated that system. And so if we get to the end of the Trump era and that system is still in place, then we've failed.
Oh,
because that's
absolutely.
why we've been through. That's why we've been through this. It's why we've, kind of gritted our teeth and braced for, a lot of stuff the past 10 years. And it's just, it's crazy to see that it's like that don't quit before the magic magic happens. I think that's like an AA thing. But it's very much just like,
it does feel like we've fallen off the wagon. It does feel like there, or at least like portions of the movement have fallen off the wagon. Because here's the thing, like I get that not everyone who is in this now has been in this for 10 years. Like I get it. Like I realize that some people hated Trump in 2016, hated him maybe even in 2020. But here's the fact, like as someone who was in this I was supporting Trump in 2014. I was supporting Trump in 2012. We sent him, Michael Moore nailed it in 16, 17, whenever he made that clip where he said, Donald Trump was a Molotov cocktail through the storefront of the political establishment. That is why people voted for him. They voted for him because it was the biggest middle finger in political history to the status quo. Yeah. That is 100% the truth of why half the people who voted for Trump in 2016 voted for him. Bernie bros, I don't know if y'all know this, but the people who supported Bernie Sanders voted for Donald Trump in 2016 because they watched Bernie Sanders' nomination get stolen from him at the Democrat National Committee, right in front of their eyes, stolen from him. So they said, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to go vote for Trump. And that's what they all went and did. Most of them went and did that. So this is a coalition. Like we have we have a true political coalition of very, very diversity of thought. We aren't all like, not everyone is a conservative. I'm a conservative, but I'm saying not everyone in the, exactly. Like who even cares? I hate identity politics now.
Yeah. But the conservative label is another thing that was co-opted, and it was co-opted by the uniparty right, the Republicans, right?
The communists.
Conservative should mean the way that I used to identify as a conservative. And when I said I am a conservative, I mean I am for conserving the Constitution. I am for conserving a limited government, the Bill of Rights, most importantly. And Republicans aren't any of that. Republicans very much want the big government. They want to wield the power. Well, here's the thing. They're both the same in terms of they want the ability to use collective force, right? Consented to collective force against the people if they don't do what they want them to do. That is the opposite of the Constitution. And the Bill of Rights particularly was established to prevent that from being able to happen. And how did that get subverted? Well, largely by dumbing down the population so that they don't understand their rights. They don't understand liberty. They think these words are political weapons and not concepts for how we should organize society and live our lives. And so we're so far away from the Constitution. I still so we can't even conserve it anymore. Right? Yeah. You can't conserve the United States Constitution because it's been irreparably changed. I mean, maybe not irreparably. Maybe there's a way to repair that, but that would be a heavy lift. And that has to start with people's awareness of how it's been subverted. It has to start with how did we get so far away from the principles enshrined by the founders in the Constitution? And it's sort of mind blowing when you look at how it happened, which is what we're exploring on my Substack every day on America 250. We're almost 3/4 of the way done with a year doing this every single year and looking at these moments, the different battles, the inventions, the legislation that shifted powers, all of these things that have happened to our country. It all went one way. There was a couple, there's a couple moments like, President Calvin Coolidge, McKinley, where they tried to stand in the gap and hold the line of the Constitution. McKinley was killed. Right. It was just yesterday or the day before the anniversary of his gold bug. And and he was assassinated. Yeah. Yeah. And so looking at history from kind of the way that I prioritize what items we're going to include in history for each day is most transformational, defined as how did it change our way of life? How did it change what it means to be an American, American governance, American law, American culture and society, our way of life, how we live our lives? And it's really freaking mind blowing when you look at where we've come since 1776 to now, and the fact that the people, and to bring it back around to the Republicans, are arguing against our rights. They're arguing against liberty. They're telling us to shut up. They're telling us to stop to don't criticize the president of the United States because we're at war. We've been at war for decades.
Yes.
We because it's Iran now, because it's a new war. Is it because it's a new war? Is there a time limit?
It's a new shiny war. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there like a cooling off period or something? They can launch a new war and then we have to leave them alone to do all the things they're going to do. And then at some point we can ask questions about it and criticize it. And where is that written? Where did we consent to and agree to that? Because that's what we're being asked to do. We're being asked to shut up and fall in line and don't criticize because it might hurt the very super real war that we're fighting.
Well, let me take it a step further because, I've talked with, I've had Oak on my show a few times and we've talked about maneuver warfare and effectively, and that's like what he used to teach when he was in the Army, as a tanker, teaching guys who were on tank crews to do maneuver warfare. Maneuver warfare effectively is you are given an end goal, an end game, right? And how you achieve that is up to your field commander. He doesn't turn around and ask for permission. Can I take this bunker? Can I take this hill? Can I do this? Do it. Yeah. Whatever it takes to get to the end, do it. Yeah. Whoever you have to shoot, whatever building you have to drive through it. Like, do it.
Sure.
What we did though, like, let's go back to what the end game is, because 10 years ago, we sent Donald Trump on a mission, and the mission was not to go make friends in DC. It was not to go negotiate a settlement with the deep state. And it certainly wasn't going to, salvage or restore the legitimacy of the establishment. Those were not the missions. The mission was seek and destroy. And the first target, by the way, that he was supposed to go destroy was the Republican Party, because that was the first enemy that he had to fight. And I don't know who was paying attention in 2015 and 2016. I have a clip of him talking about Lindsey Graham and talking about how big of a piece of shit. I'll pull it up here in a second. How big of a piece of shit Lindsey Graham is. This is him in 2016.
That should be bipartisan, by the way. And if it's not, we have even bigger problems.
He was like, Lindsey Graham is literally a piece of shit. And he actually read his cell phone number out. He gave his cell phone number out at one of the rallies. He was like, if you want to call Lindsey to let him know he's a piece of shit, here is his cell phone number. And he gave it out. And Lindsey Graham flipped out. Donald Trump made it very clear that he hated all these people. Yeah. And I don't know if it's that people forgot that, like, because it was a long time ago. It was, 10, 11 years ago. Or if, they just weren't paying attention and just missed all of that. But like, we already went through all of this as a movement, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. And then kind of like halfway through 2018, Paul Ryan got his life destroyed. Like, literally, Donald Trump destroyed his life. This was the Speaker of the House, the Republican Speaker of the House, who totally stonewalled Trump's first 2 years in office and got nothing accomplished. We didn't get a wall funded, a border wall funded. They erased or they failed to repeal Obamacare. Like, it was the Republicans who did that. It was John McCain famously went up at midnight and said no. He was the deciding vote. The Republicans fucked us, is what happened, really hard. And so Trump destroyed Paul Ryan's life. He literally was like, Paul Ryan, your political career is over. Resign. And he did. And then Paul Ryan was hired by Fox News to go become their president. And he still is their president, by the way. And that was when Fox News turned on Trump. And then they started doing they were doing anti-Trump stuff before, but then Trump won. And so they were like, all right, well, I guess we're pro-Trump now. So 2017, they were pro-Trump. 2018, they were pro-Trump. But then sometime in 2018, they started to become anti-Trump.
Terms.
Dude, the cocaine Mitch memes, I was like throwing up, like looking at, like, on my keyboard. People were like, cocaine Mitch, like Mitch McConnell is so
I'm
bad.
here to traffic cocaine and appoint judges, and I'm all out of cocaine.
And I was like, dude, I'm like, I don't give a fuck that he appointed 200 and some judges. Mitch McConnell is a traitor to this country. Mitch McConnell destroyed this country, and he should be held accountable for that. All of them should be held accountable for that. And that is why we sent Donald Trump up there. And every single day I remind myself of that when I engage online. I don't care about the thing, the shiny object, like whatever, like the little thing that everyone's worked up about today. I don't care about that. The only thing I care about is the end game, the orders that we were given at the very beginning, which is retake control of your government. And Donald Trump is the flamethrower that we're taking to it all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that is absolutely spot on. The flavor of the day headline news is a distraction from what is happening in the change program, in the transformational change program. We are moving from point A to point B. I think that it's important to President Trump that we define point B. Right? That the people. Why do I think that? Well, because when he swore into office, he said what truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. And unfortunately, we still have a significant part of the people who want someone to tell them what to do and tell them what to think and just keep us safe. Just keep it, just protect us and keep us safe. And I think back to the founders, and they would have thrown up at that assertion, because you can't have both. You can't have liberty and a massive government that you entrust to keep you safe. We haven't been safe. They haven't prevented us from having over an infiltration at both the southern and the northern border, as well as on planes into our ports, via plane, that the government put infiltrators on. They didn't protect us from that. They haven't protected us from crime. They haven't protected us from COVID. They haven't protected us from exploitation at the hands of corporate interests. They didn't protect us from having all of our jobs moved overseas. So this massive government, it actually hasn't protected the people. It's the premise of globalism. I say this every week. The premise of globalism is that America has to bend the knee so the rest of the world can rise. America needs to be brought down to several pegs so that the other nations of the world can rise up and we can have a more equal planet. It's global communism. It's global rainbow. There's weather communism, there's rainbow communism, but it's all global communism. All right. Well, if you pull in that video, if you have it, we are going to hear from our sponsors and then we'll get back to it. First up, we have Benson Honey Farms. Welcome to Benson Honey Farms, where every jar is pure gold. Benson's Honey is excited to be back on Badlands Media with their latest 2025 honey harvest straight from their farm in Nebraska. While they've been busy working to improve state politics from the ground up, they never forgot the importance of sharing the best honey around. Did you know honey isn't just a sweet treat? It's nature's medicine, perfect for alleviating allergies, soothing upset stomachs, or as a delicious natural sweetener for baking. Benson Honey is never heated, ensuring you receive it in its pure, raw form, full of natural goodness. At Benson Honey Farms, quality and purity is top priority, and they're committed to providing the finest honey from hive to home. Join the supportive community and enjoy a special offer. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/honey. That's badlandsmedia.tv/honey and use promo code Badlands for 15% off your purchase. Benson Honey Farms, savor the authentic taste of Nebraska and support this America First business. Follow on Facebook at Benson Honey Farms. And then our second sponsor, and shout out to these guys for sponsoring the show tonight. You can see their info at the bottom of the screen if you forget it. Microplastics aren't somewhere out there anymore. They're in here, in your kitchen, your tap water, your household dust. And now research is finding them in places no one ever imagined. Human blood, lungs, even breast milk. These particles don't wait. They don't ask permission. They build up quietly day after day inside real people. And the youngest among us, our children, are being exposed every day, and yet most parents have no idea how much they are invading their kids' bodies. Have you ever considered having your children tested? Plastiproof changes that. It's the world's first at-home saliva test for microplastics. No needles, no clinic, no stress. A simple sample you collect at home and send to a certified lab located in the US. And yes, children can take the test too. You get a clear science-based report detailing levels found in the body and how they entered the body, food, air, or from medical. It's your baseline and your starting point to make changes toward a healthier lifestyle. Once you know your exposure, you can finally take action. Plastigon is a simple, gentle homeopathic patch designed to help your body detox from microplastics. Peel it, stick it, and forget it. It's an easy, intentional step you can take every day as you work to reduce your environmental exposure. Together, Plasti-Proof and Plasti-Gone can help families move from uncertainty to clarity and from worry to action. Badlanders get $40 off with promo code Badlands40. Visit plastigon.com today. Again, that's promo code Badlands40. All right. You have it?
So yeah, so you've seen, I mean, you've read like Art of the Deal, like, and you've researched like Trump enough to understand how he operates. Like, you understand that if you cross Trump, he will like, my wife actually put on a documentary last night, like a documentary series. I guess it was like Netflix or something. And I think it was designed to like make Trump look bad, but I have trained myself enough that I can watch like anti-Trump material as long as they're showing raw footage of Trump speaking from like the 80s. I can appreciate it for what it is. And there was a lot of stuff in there that was amazing. That like they interviewed like the woman who built, who was the GC on Trump Tower. Like there's a lot of great stuff in there. And one of the things, one of the clips they were playing was just Trump talking about, like, they were trying to present him as petty, but he was pretty much just like, all these people around him were saying, yeah, it's like the worst possible thing you could do was try to pull one over on him, because if you challenged him, he will crush you. Like, that is like, he will go out of his way actually to crush you. And he will hold on to a grudge for years and years and years and wait for his perfect opportunity to crush you.
Yeah.
He holds a grudge, and he would even say that. He's like, yeah, I do kind of hold a grudge. It's like probably one of my flaws.
And he thinks big, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
keep that in mind. He holds a grudge, but also his plans are decades, right? There, he plans in decades. And he thinks so. When he's having, the stuff happening in the headlines right now are, I feel like they're like gnats that he's swatting, because he's, the things that he's doing right now are in service of a goal down the road, usually, at least in terms of Art of the Deal.
Yes.
Quickly, D Patriot 1776 gifted 5 subscriptions. Thank you so much. It's good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so if you were to pull what I have on screen and play it, this is Lindsey Graham from 2016, talking about candidate Trump. And remember, Trump was attacking the Bush administration at the beginning of the Obama administration. There are clips of 2008, 2009 of him being like,
why were they not warring hard enough?
Well, no. He said Bush lied his way into the Middle East. Like he should be held accountable for that. Like, why is nobody being held accountable for? They lied about why we went to the Middle East. So here is
Congress approve that though.
Well,
Lindsey Graham, you don't get off the hook.
So this is I assume after Trump just destroyed Jeb Bush, ended Jeb Bush's career at that South Carolina debate. This is February 2016. This could be before that, but I can't remember exactly when that debate happened. But here's Lindsey Graham talking about President Trump. This is before he won the primary.
I'm not going to try to get into the mind of Donald Trump, because I don't think there's a whole lot of space there. I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. I think he's unfit for office. And I'm a Republican, and he's not. He's not a conservative Republican. He's an opportunist. He could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, and 25 or 30% of the people would still follow him, because he gives a voice to their anger and their frustration. But he's not fit to be president of the United States.
I think it's really more, Lindsey, that he gives a voice to the voiceless. That's really more of what it is than that. Okay, so, and then of course here is July 21st, 2015. Donald Trump is a jackass. That's Lindsey Graham on Aaron Burnett. And so here's Donald Trump on the campaign trail. This is in the primary in 2016, giving out Lindsey Graham's personal phone number.
Lindsey Graham says to me, please, whatever you can do. You know what I'm saying to myself, what's this guy, beggar? He's like begging help him with Fox and Friends. So I say, okay, and I'll mention your name. He said, could you mention my name? I said, yes, I'll mention. And he gave me his number, and I found the card. I wrote the number down. I don't know if it's the right number. Let's try it. 202 228 0292. I don't know. Maybe it's, it's 3-4 years ago, so maybe it's an old number. 202 228 0292. So, I don't know. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Your local politician, he won't fix anything, but at least he'll talk to you.
Yeah. So that's President Trump giving out Lindsey Graham's personal cell phone number. Just to like the world. And apparently that was a real number. And like Lindsey Graham had to change his phone number.
Nice.
So, and then here, like, let's fast forward. Here's Trump in 2019. And if you don't remember what was happening in 2019, what's his name? Khashoggi was killed in October of 2018, right? Lindsey Graham jumped down the Saudis' throat and was like, we need to overthrow the Saudi government. I'm never going back there again until MBS is out of office. That guy's a scumbag, all that stuff, right? And MBS was Trump's guy. And Trump, of course, was trying to piece together the Abraham Accords. So here is Trump talking about Lindsey Graham again in regards to the Middle East. This is 2019. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. This one.
You see, Lindsey Graham just said of your remarks that you made in the Oval Office that if you keep talking like that, quote, this will be a disaster worse than Obama's decision to leave Iraq.
Lindsey Graham would like to stay in the Middle East for the next 1,000 years without soldiers and fighting other people's wars. I want to get out of the Middle East.
You see, Lindsey Graham just said of your remarks that you made.
So
and we think that's still the plan, right?
Yeah. And there are other clips. There's like another 2.5 minute clip out there that of Trump reminiscing on when he gave out Lindsey Graham's phone number, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that was fun." Like somebody asked about it, he's like, "Oh yeah, that was funny." He's like, "Yeah, that was great." He's like, "Yeah, Lindsey Graham's a loser. Like that guy's a loser. Yeah. He's like Bush. He just wants to go fight like everything." So the point is like this is not just like a one-off. This is Trump over from 2015, 2016, 2017, 2019. Over and like I think even last year, maybe 2 years ago, I think it was a couple years ago, he put out a post that said, "I apologize for Lindsey Graham. I apologize for endorsing Lindsey Graham," and then turned around and endorsed Lindsey Graham again, right? Yeah. And so people like it's maddening for people who don't understand, I think, how Trump like operates, and then they'll like hear me say something like that, and they'll say, "Well, that's just opium." It's like, well, like you said, President Trump is a long-term thinker. The first building he ever built, the Commodore Hotel, took 2.5 years to build. Yeah. So it's like he spent 2.5 years building his first construction project. He spent
and the Trump Taj Mahal. Oh, that's Taj Mahal is going to come up in Laura Loomer segment. Trump Taj Mahal at Atlantic City, I think is where. I think that's what the Atlantic City property is called. I might be off on that, but that was like a 10-year project that it took to assembling the site, getting the pieces, negotiating all the licensing and everything happening with the interest there. It was, and that's how that Trump is not distracted by news headlines. Yeah. He makes news headlines, and he's very clear that, when he's in the press, if they're attacking one of his ideas, people are looking at and engaging with that idea. And that's the goal. Attacking it is great. Suppressing it, not talking about it at all is a problem. And that's why, he complained about that when they figured it out for a little while. And, towards the second half of his first term, we're not going to cover the president's speeches anymore. We're not going to cover his rhetoric anymore. And then, they kicked him off Twitter and all of the different things to censor and suppress his speech because they realized that their attacks didn't work because they didn't have any institutional credibility anymore. Nobody trusts the legacy media. I mean, some people do. It does seem like a significant portion of this movement has returned to Fox News and is getting their opinions from the legacy media now. Yep. But we didn't used to. We all used to be aligned.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, they are. Oh, yes, they are.
Yeah.
And that's Paul Ryan, by the way, guys, whose life was destroyed by Donald Trump. He was supposed to become president. He was lined up to be he was the leader of the Republican Party. He was like the good-looking, young, energetic guy. Him and Marco Rubio were going to take over the Republican Party. Yeah. And Donald Trump literally destroyed his life.
Yeah, agreed. So just back to the First Amendment. It's scrolling across the top of the screen. You can read it if you're unfamiliar, memorize it. It gives us, it doesn't give us, it preserves and defends against, restricts government from infringing upon 5 freedoms: religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. And to the point about Republicans not really being conservative, right? Not really wanting to conserve the Bill of Rights or the Constitution, but wanting to wield the massive powers of government. The reason they're not making the government smaller is because they want to use that they want that power. They want the big government power. They just want to wield it for their stuff instead of the stuff the other side wants to wield. The other side wants to wield it for. And what I have said since the beginning of starting this show is that no matter who gets elected, globalism expands. That's been our normal. Donald Trump is the difference maker there, because he is actually attacking globalism. He's changing the incentive structures. He's changing. Talked about this on Daily Herald last week when I was sitting in for John. There are structural changes happening inside the agencies of the federal government that are going to make a lot of the problems that we've had that neutralize them as a threat, make them somewhat impossible. I hesitate to say the word impossible because government generally always finds a way. But so the First Amendment only protects against the government making laws or infringing upon these 5 freedoms. And that is still in effect. People say, oh, no, it's not. Well, here, I mean, I went into federal court and I defended my rights, my First Amendment rights to speak. I'm pulling this in because I don't think I've ever shown this before, but Exhibit 15 in my trial, and there was a bunch of marked exhibits. This one just has the best meme, which is why I'm pulling this one in. But you can see this was in 2021. This is what my blog looked like. And I had, made a bunch of memes. Colorado elections are spoiled. Griswold and Crane belong in prison. Scroll down. Where's the marking? Oh, it's not on that page. It's on the, shoot. It's not going to let me put, I was going to show, it's marked as Exhibit 15, but I pulled in the old link to it, not the actual marked exhibit. But when I go down here, I had this up on the screen at trial, having to explain myself for including, oh God, I was very wordy. I've gotten less wordy over time. Having to explain this. So this is Jenna Griswold in prison. This was an Orange is the New Black promo photo that my friend Holly photoshopped their faces onto. This is Janet Rowland, who is the commissioner over Tina Peters' whole saga. And this is Matt Crane, who is the subject matter expert for all of elections in Colorado.
And the court put you in a struggle session over this?
Yes, this was a marked exhibit at my trial. There was never intimidation. There was never coercion. There were never threats. There was never voter suppression. It was all about speech, but it was your speech's incitement. Incitement to what? Well, you're going to diminish trust in our elections. I've already fucking defended this in court. I have already defended in court that you can't say that because you're going to diminish trust in our elections. And now it's happening again, but it's happening from our side.
Yeah. Well, it's always been our side, by the way. I think
there are no sides.
Yeah, but people need to understand that like the Democrats have never actually accomplished anything. The Republicans were the ones who passed the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act is what was used against you after January 6th. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like that's what they used during the Biden administration to come after you. So like we did that to ourselves, guys. Like your leaders that you're simping for right now, that you're saying we need to reelect, they're the ones who did this to you. They're the ones who signed some of them were in office back then and voted yes on the Patriot Act. So, I think it's important just to point all that out. But like now let's talk, we should shift and talk about the
Loomer stuff.
Like what's happening with the First Amendment.
So you guys know.
Because this is something that I will fight. I will fight everyone in MAGA over this.
Trial Exhibit 15.
Okay. Yeah.
Freaking maddening. It's maddening that we're back here. It's maddening that we're faced with this argument. again.
Yeah.
Don't say true things about the elections because
Don't say true things. Just stop right there.
Things.
Don't say true things.
Yeah.
Don't say things that are don't say things that logically make sense, because it might lead people out of this controlled little pin that they've been living in as cattle, and they may run around wild and free in the wild blue yonder. Like can't have that, right?
Yeah, and just on the midterm part, before we move on to the foreign policy thing, on the midterm part, we have the investigation in Fulton County, which is effectively showing that President Trump won Georgia in 2020. We have and the records have been seized in Fulton County, and that all has to do with it has to do with fake voters, fake ballots, and fake counts, but it is particularly pointed at the election machines, the voting machines. In Arizona, last week we had news that the Senate audit and Maricopa's compliance with it and compliance with election law generally is under federal investigation. So that's the again, fake voters, fake ballots, fake counts. We have the Mail-in Ballot Integrity Act that Clay Higgins introduced into the House that is banning no excuse mail-in ballots. It's a huge first step in the direction to the fake ballots. Then, of course, we have the SAVE Act and all of the lawsuits in the states against the voter rolls. All of these things are happening right now. They're news that's happening right now, but we're not being told we can't talk about them. We're being told we can't talk about them in the way where we actually say what we think. We have to frame it differently. We have to frame it because talking about the mechanisms of fake elections might hurt our ability to win the next fake election. I'm sorry, no. You can eat every last fucking dick in the bag. I have already argued this point in federal court, and I won at halftime because you can't do this.
Yeah.
So, all right, now we can move on to foreign policy. Phobias and isms, I called this block, by the way.
Yeah, so this one's really important. This one's really important because and by the way, I asked Brian on Tuesday last week, name one thing name one thing Congress has accomplished in the past year. He couldn't. He said the Lincoln Riley Act.
Yeah,
and
that's one. And the Take It Down Act is another one.
Yeah, but that was Melania. Like Melania did that.
But Congress passed it.
Yeah, but like that was Melania being like,
it was her advocacy, certainly.
It was her advocacy pushing it. Like they didn't do that on their own. That was them being like,
I don't even know. Have we figured out how to take it down though? Like, is that operational and able to be executed? I
don't know the inner workings of it.
I don't know either.
But yeah, so this is important because again, the thing that they'll all hide behind is they're going to hide behind the religion thing. They're going to hide behind the Jew thing. They're going to hide behind the anti-Semitism thing. Yeah. But really what this is about is your right to criticize government. And I've been saying this for 3 years ago. Like the end of 2023, I brought this up on Badlands Daily. I informed everyone about Glenn Youngkin being the first governor in the country to sign into law a hate speech law expanding the definition of anti-Semitism to include the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, which is an NGO, their definition, which includes not comparing
the main one, right? The IHRA definition is the one that's recognized by everyone.
Well, that's the one now it is in 38 states. It is now 38 states. It is. And the majority of all those were I think it was 26 of the 38. It was Republican governor, and both houses of the legislature were controlled by the Republican Party. And I think it was something like 30 of them were like a Republican governor. It was something crazy like that. That signed it. And so the important thing about it, but like the expansion of the definition was, you can't compare the IDF to the Nazi regime. You can't say that the Jews killed Jesus. You can't criticize the Israeli government. Right. And I brought this to everyone's attention. They made a lot of people uncomfortable. People were like, oh, the Jew thing. Oh, but as I said, here's what's going to happen is that they're going to set this as a precedent first. Everyone's going to say, oh yeah, of course we can't be mean, can't be anti-Semitic. Of course. But it's going to be expanded because assume what's going to happen is it's going to be, well, you can't criticize Jewish politicians because that's going to be incitement of violence. Then it's just going to be, you can't criticize any politicians because that's going to be incitement of violence. And that's kind of where we're going now. Like you can see that, you can clearly see it like happening right now. And the people who are demanding, and by the way, all the stuff that I have published that Tucker Carlson has platformed recently, because he's the one who's being targeted right now. And whether you think Tucker is an earnest actor on a redemption arc, or if you think he is a like intelligence asset, part of a Hegelian dialectic, it doesn't matter. Like bicamerally, it does not matter. They are using him as like the sacrificial lamb, like to set the precedent. And what they're going to do is they're demanding that he be put in prison for the stuff he's been platforming on his podcast. Here's the thing. We have published everything he's put on his podcast and more as it relates to Israel. That's the stuff that they're concerned about. We have published that on our Substack in the Badlands News Brief over the past 2 years. We were just way ahead of the curve there with him. And if we allow this to happen, and they're going to try to do it, they're going to try to put somebody in prison, whether it's him or somebody else, for speech. And what they're arguing, what Laura Loomer is arguing, is that he inspired that shooter to go to that synagogue last week and shoot up the synagogue. Or the school, like the Jewish
Didn't
school.
Laura Loomer say that on the day that this shooting happened? And
she posted
immediately come out and say that it was his and Candace Owens' fault.
Yes, immediately she said he should be held accountable for the stuff that he has been saying because he's the one who inspired this guy to go do this. And this is the bullshit that gets me really worked up, because if you think that you are responsible for somebody else's actions, like that is the epitome of a nanny state. You are a statist. That is how it works, by the way. Like in Israel, it's how it works in Europe. It's how it works pretty much everywhere around the world. Is like it's two parties fighting for control of the government because they want to wield the big power of the government against the other side. That's how it works in every quote unquote democracy. There is no place that is seeking to reduce the size of the government anywhere. And America is unique in that, although the people who are seeking to do that have no political power, that's us. And we just need to be hyper aware of this. And I think this is where
nothing conservative about that, by the way.
This is where the phalanx comes in, and we all have to lock shields and fight these people, because if we relent to this, and I see our movement relenting, I see people saying, yes, Tucker's bad, put him in prison. I actually see like people that you and I know personally retweeting that stuff and saying, like Tucker should go to prison. And part of it could be that they think Tucker is like an intelligence asset, like they don't like him. Like it could be that, but understand that if he goes to prison, so will so many others. And then it will be, it's a slippery slope. It's all slippery slope. And the end game is not Israel. The end game is not, protecting the Jews. The end game is making it illegal to criticize the government, because if you do, you might be inciting violence against a politician, and that's a bad thing.
Well, I think actually inciting violence is a bad thing. Can you prove it? I don't know.
Well,
I mean, so the incitement of violence claim. This is another. So if you say you should go out and do X to that person, right? That's maybe a direct line, and then somebody does. Right. Somebody does go out and do exactly what you say. That's a direct line. But you know what we saw in President Trump's 14th Amendment trial here so that was the Anderson versus Griswold to take President Trump off the ballot under the 14th Amendment in that was like August or September of 2023. Jenna Griswold pretended to be the defendant in the case. President Trump intervened, and then we had a trial. And what we saw in that trial was that their argument, and it was a found fact in the case that he incited an insurrection. He's an oath-breaking insurrectionist, they said. We found insurrection, Judge Sarah Wallace said in that case. It was the coded dog whistle of peacefully and patriotically make your way down to the Capitol and have your voices heard, or, paraphrasing, but that's essentially the gist. And the state argued in a court of law, and again, it was a found fact. The state argued that him saying those words, knowing that his supporters were angry and knowing that they were, armed, but later on it came out that their arms was mostly sharpened flagpoles. Like I was at January 6th. I didn't see anybody sharpen a flagpole, but whatever they say, I guess. That was what they said was incitement. So laws like that, where it can be some sort of ambiguous standard, and it was a civil matter. That was a civil court, because the 14th Amendment claim to take him off the ballot was not a criminal matter. And so they just make shit up, and do all the time. Again, my case, made up. They made up that we were sending armed agents to people's homes to intimidate them about their vote. Black and brown people's homes. Just made it up. 2.5 years of my life, but they just made it up. And that's actually one thing that's exciting. Side quest. AFL, America First Legal, today is pushing the DOJ to go after all of these leftist NGOs and blue states for filing frivolous lawsuits against the administration, which would be fantastic if something was actually done. It would have to be courts, I think, that found that punishment, that were able to deliver that punishment. It would have to be legal sanctions, but that needs to be done, because right now there are no, if you're litigating, I have an appeal in the 10th Circuit on this. If you're litigating civil rights, the court, the law, and it's not written into law, but it's the court precedent under Christiansburg, the Christiansburg standard, 1973 U.S. Supreme Court precedent. If you're the plaintiff in a civil rights case, any civil rights case, if you're the plaintiff, you have the presumption of good faith, because civil rights are just so important that we don't want to chill people bringing claims for civil rights. And so we have to give them the presumption of good faith, meaning if you bring a frivolous civil rights claim, and a ton of these cases, these lawfare cases are civil rights cases, if you bring a frivolous civil rights claim, you're not facing legal fees. You're definitely not facing sanctions, but you have kind of a presumption that you won't have to pay fees if you lose. And that was set up. The reason that standard was established was because the majority of people were bringing claims against the government, and they were losing, because civil rights cases are notoriously hard to litigate. And certainly when it comes down to speech and intentions and conspiracies against rights, you have to have smoking guns in order to win those cases. And so they set up, because these plaintiffs, mostly, Black people in the South, were trying to litigate their civil rights as it pertained to voting and other matters. And the government was just crushing them and then demanding legal fees. And so the standard said, well, if you're a plaintiff in a civil rights case, you're saying civil rights have been violated. That's really important. It's really, really, civil rights are so important that it's really, really important that we, and the same weight is not provided to the defendant. So that's why, even though in my case, it was completely frivolous, they made it up. They had a witness lie for 2.5 years and then lie on the stand. And the judge knows she lied on the stand. She put it in her final judgment, but denied our fees because, well, civil rights are so important. We can't chill the bringing of civil rights cases. So the America First Legal bringing in that kind of, that bringing pressure against that argument, we're fighting it. We've been, for a year now in the 10th Circuit. The case is 25-1111. If folks want to look it up. It's crazy how, we talk about elections being fake. The courts are pretty rigged as well. I wouldn't say the courts are fake, because I've actually gone in and brought a reasoned argument, presented my evidence, and won. But they're certainly manipulated. The outcomes are guardrailed and manipulated for sure, especially in bench trials.
And I've seen up close and personal, like the courts prevail, but I've also seen it take like a circuitous route where multiple judges had to be involved, multiple prosecutors had to be involved. And all the judges were actually great. One of the prosecutors was corrupt, and he got in trouble, but it took like 5 years on something that should have taken months. And so, like, let's talk about, because since we're talking about incitement, and obviously incitement is bad. I was being facetious when I said, it's like criticizing people is mean, and we don't want to hurt people's feelings.
Oh, that'll go viral. Ghost wants to incite violence.
By the way, I am hearing people on the right, like, I hate that term, people within our movement, I'm hearing them use the term, I'm offended. And when I hear people say that, I'm just like,
I only use it ironically.
I'm like, you're a pussy. Like, I'm sorry, but okay, pussy.
You'd quote Ben Shapiro and say, facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, but it's not even like that.
That dude's all up in his feelings all the time.
Yeah, it's not even Ben Shapiro though. But anyway, so the standard now is what's known as the Brandenburg test. The Brandenburg test was established from a 1969 case involving the Ku Klux Klan called Brandenburg versus Ohio. And what happened was a Ku Klux Klan leader speaking at a local Klan rally said, quote, "This is an organizers meeting. We had quite a few members here today. We're not a revengeant organization, but if our president, our Congress, our Supreme Court continues to suppress the white Caucasian race, it is possible that there might have to be some revengeance taken." And so for that, he was convicted under the Ohio criminal syndicalism statute, which made it illegal to advocate crime, sabotage, violence, or unlawful methods of terrorism as a means of accomplishing industrial or political reform. He was fined $1,000 and sentenced to 10 years in prison. So he appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court reversed the conviction, and the standard that they established from that case law that's now used is what is protected free speech, what is considered incitement today. So
and they give a test. I love a test. The imminent lawless action test is the test that was established in Brandenburg.
So yes, the general. So here's what's protected under the law now: general advocacy of violence, saying, you know, we should revolt someday, like someday we should take back what is ours, right? Like using that kind of language, that is protected. Political extremism, right? Like being an anti-Semite is awful, but it's protected speech. Being a racist is awful, but it's protected speech, right? Yeah. Abstract encouragement of illegal acts. So encouraging people like not to pay their taxes, I would assume, right? But you're not like explaining to them how not to pay their taxes, right? So like I would assume that that's probably what they're referring to. Speech about violence in the indefinite future. So being like, one day in the future, we're going to take back what is ours, right? Like that is all protected. Here's what is not protected. All three of these have to be met in order for it to be incitement. It has to be intent to cause unlawful action, imminence, meaning like right now or in the immediate future, like we're going to go retake Washington by force this week, right? And then the third thing is there has to be likelihood that it's actually going to happen. So like if you're in Hawaii and you're like, we're going to go take DC tomorrow, it's like, no, you're not, right? So all three of those have to be satisfied in order for it to be incitement. I think most people listening to this have listened to enough Tucker Carlson. We listened to the whole Mike Huckabee interview. Tucker Carlson's not inciting violence. Like he's kind of a softie, actually. Yeah. He's not inciting violence, but you now have an earnest movement that is trying to put him in prison. And it's not just Laura Loomer and like Mark Levin. It's actually this whole contingent of Israeli here. I want to show you this person. This person, she got 3.3 million views on this. Tucker Carlson should be arrested and tried for treason. And she's referring to like the CIA accusing her or allegedly accusing Tucker of like speaking to Iran, which Mark Caputo came out and said that that's not true, that the White House said that wasn't true. But you have all these Israelis, like people who are based in Israel, who are Israeli citizens, who are calling for Americans to be put in prison for their free speech. And that is a real problem. Like we are, and when you consider the clout that Israel has over our government, and that is something that President Trump has put on full display and made very obvious is a real thing. Yeah, that's a pretty scary thing. And I think that seeing not just Americans, but Americans in the truth movement support this stuff and like nod along like lemmings, that is the thing that blackpills me. Like nothing President Trump is doing is blackpilling me. It's what blackpills me is the behavior of the people next to me who are like, we should put these people in prison. They're mean. Like I don't like them. And I'm like,
well, they're dangerous because they might impact what the administration is trying to do. And that means we need to use government force against them.
Yeah.
That's the most demoralizing thing to me. And we've heard a lot the past week, you're going to be demoralizing people if you tell them that elections are fake, or if you suggest that the war isn't real, you're going to demoralize the population. Well, the war being real is actually demoralizing people quite a bit. The idea that we're going into a very real war. G. Fontes, tell me, are you talking about my cases or the cases that Ghost just read? I have 2 cases. I can give you the case numbers if you would like. So do you want to talk about Laura Loomer's struggle session before we get out of here?
Sure, but I should play this 15-second clip of Trump from today, just to like, because people are like, this war is absolutely real, and don't you ever say it's not real. Listen to what Trump said today.
Oh, you're not playing it. It's off screen.
Oh, whoops. Did my computer just freeze?
I see it now.
There it is. Okay.
One. So it's a little unfair. You know, you win a war, but they have no right to be doing what they're doing. But we're hitting them very hard. And today is a big day where we're pounding a certain area that has very much to do with the strait. And I think we'll get it going very soon.
He said a lot of stuff today that was like laugh out loud funny.
Play it again.
He's talking about they have no right to be fighting back. Like that's what he's saying, talking about Iran.
One. So it's a little unfair. You win a war, but they have no right to be doing what they're doing. But we're hitting them very hard. And today is a big day where we're pounding a certain area that has very much to do with the strait. And I think we'll get it going very soon. So,
yeah. So like the stuff that he does, I mean, we don't have to get into like the analysis of it, but I would just say that he said he lays stuff out that if you actually listen to what he's saying, like that clip of him just crushing Brian Kilmeade, crushing him when Brian Kilmeade was like, would you ever attack Carg Island? That's what he asked him. I think it was on Friday. He goes, would you ever attack Carg Island? And he goes, what kind of question is that, Brian? What kind of a stupid question is that? Like, I thought you were a smart guy, Brian. Are you an idiot? Like, would you really ask me that? And then an hour later, he announced on Truth Social, we just attacked Carg Island.
Yeah.
It's like,
he goes,
do you really think if I really was planning on attacking Carg Island, I would actually tell you? Like, you'd have to be an idiot to think that I'd come out here and tell you before I would do something like start a war.
Yeah.
And it's like, for 3 months, he was like, I'm going to start a war with Iran, guys. Guess what? I'm going to start a war with Iran, guys. Guess what? I'm going to start a war with Iran, guys. Guess what? I'm going to start a war with Iran, guys. And now we're at a war with Iran. It's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe we really are at a war with Iran, but I mean, he spent like 3 months telling us he was going to do it, and then he did it, and then he was like, you're an idiot if you think that I would tell you before I was going to start a war.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I mean, I hate war.
Yeah, me too.
I love our troops. I don't want to be fighting bullshit foreign wars because I don't want Americans to die. I have military age sons, so like that's it has nothing to do with wanting to harm the military or put them, you're going to get Americans killed if you say truthful things about this. Another thing we heard last week. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We're going to keep talking about the true things. Just back for a second I just want to mention one thing. I mentioned it at the top, but then didn't tell people where to find it. The Political Caviar was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still around, but he does a radio show in San Diego, and I joined him last night. He has a local gal, like kind of like I'm here in Colorado doing local news stuff. She's in San Diego doing local news stuff. She was talking about viewpoint discrimination happening on students with things like ICE and war and, gender stuff probably and whatnot. But we had a really interesting conversation about how so if there are teachers that are trying to grab the minds of kids to oppose ICE, right? These kids are being like trained to use their social media to fight ICE. Then if they're not, and the story was a story because some kids were like, we love ICE, and they got in trouble for saying we love ICE. That is a conditioning exercise intended to subjugate, manipulate, and condition the minds of the next generation before they even get out to make their own decisions. And we talk about that with a lot of the curriculum stuff, but particularly when there's punishment involved, that's a significant emotional event. They're making the political conditioning part of the curriculum essentially, but it's experiential. And it was a really great interview. The link to it is in my Substack. It's in the show notes. It's the first link, asheandamerica.substack.com. Sorry, I just wanted to mention that. I didn't want to forget. Okay, so.
Oh yeah, by the way, the new Ayatollah is gay. Apparently Trump like leaked that today too. That the new Ayatollah is probably
Wait,
gay.
what number Ayatollah are we on?
This would be the third Ayatollah in the history of Iran.
But haven't like three of them just been killed?
No, because I don't think
they kill one, and then they appoint one, and they kill one, and they appoint one.
I don't think they ever appointed any, but I think there was just talks of it. But anyway, it's the son of the guy who was the Ayatollah for like.
Oh, he's not dead. I thought they killed him.
No. Trump said he's alive.
Right.
But apparently, like he was asked about it today. He was. They said that, hey, the leaked reports from the White House are that this guy's gay, and Trump says, well, nobody knows for sure, but you know.
EC says so. Lindsay should be totally good with him.
I mean, guys, I don't know how much goofier Trump can make it if he's like talking about the Ayatollah being a homosexual. Like, I don't know if we can get any goofier than this. But anyway, I digress.
Is he going to toss himself off a building?
He's going to fenestrate himself out a window.
You know, in Blazing Saddles, when the new sheriff comes on and everybody's ready to kill him, and so he like does it to himself. He's like, you are so good and they are so dumb. That's kind of what's going on. That would be a good clip.
Blazing Saddles is a very, very relevant movie.
Yeah, shout out to Mel Brooks. You know, we've fallen way too far away from when we were all kind of celebrating humanity together. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
We're doing the shorter version.
Filter. I love this filter they're doing to her too.
Yeah, and her face does not look like this.
Yeah,
I mean, it's horrifying. But there's the other video. You'll see it. We'll play the other video a little bit sped up. Oh,
it's the Chad. It's the Chad meme. They give her like the defined like jawline.
Yeah. Isn't anybody going to help that poor man? Exactly, Spetzel nailed it.
Racist and Islamophobic, and I'm sorry to say that we have Atiti Devo Bhava in this country where we welcome all, but your comments smack of anti-Indianism, worse still, Islamophobia, and even worse, racism, which has no place, ma'am, in today's world. So get real, ma'am. Sorry to say that, but that comments are unacceptable to me as an Indian and as a world citizen. The White House might smell like curry, and speeches will be facilitated via a call center. You then went on to say our country was built by white Europeans, not third world invaders from India. I think you should do more than just express regret. Be racist.
So that's the really heated one. So then we have this one. This is a little bit longer. I'm going to make this 1.25 if I can.
Maybe there isn't a filter on it.
This is the one where her face looks normal. They're doing the cheekbones, and
they're doing the cheekbones.
Another one where
it's hard to tell sometimes.
There was another one where I was like, "Holy shit, what happened to her face?" The pictures, I think they've done it to the pictures of the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal comes up here, and this is going to be a pretty funny way to end. But we'll do. Actually, it's Indian, so let me make it 1.25, not 1.5, because the accent's tough. Okay.
Decrease in some of those harsh comments online.
Laura, can we address the elephant in the room? First up, would you want some water or are you carrying your own?
Oh, I think I'm fine. Yeah.
You're good? Okay,
yeah.
Great. So there have been certain tweets, Laura, because you're in India right now. And you know what you've done, and let me say this, it's a feat. Because by the virtue of those tweets, you've done the impossible. You've got the left in India and the right in India come together and being uncomfortable with those tweets. So in that way, there's a lot to thank you because that rarely ever happens in India.
Wow.
But they've come together in the criticism, Laura, of some of your tweets earlier. You've deleted most of them. On what you perceive is your image of India and Indians. Do you regret it? Because you deleted them. So that's why I ask you.
Well, Twitter deleted some of them. I had no choice but to delete some of them because Twitter actually locked my account, believe it or not. In the aftermath of that, they actually, restricted my accounts in December. This is what I'll say. I'm not going to apologize for my comments about the H-1B visa program because my job is to speak for Americans and to stand up for American interests. And our immigration laws have been exploited and abused. And our labor laws have also been exploited and abused. And I'm going to continue being an advocate and a fighter for American workers who are struggling to find employment because they're told they're not the best and the brightest in a field, right, in Silicon Valley and tech that is dominated by over 70% imported foreign labor, mostly from China and India. What I will say is that I shouldn't have said some of the things that I said in the other tweets, not about H-1B. And I apologize if my remarks offended people. And I'm here in India this week, and I'm spending several days in India where I'm going to be, traveling the country. I'm very excited to be here. Everybody's been.
Just to pause it really quickly. The comment, the water bottle comment, was that she put on Twitter, why do people in India still defecate in the water they bathe and drink from?
Actually,
very friendly. I'm very
actually pause it real quick, but before she finishes, let's pull up the post. And I see RC Jen, I see in the chat. Yeah, she has free speech rights, but let's understand what the First Amendment is. The First Amendment is not protection from consequence of what you say. It's just you're not going to go to prison for what you say. It's your government's not going to come after you for what you say.
The United States government cannot come after you for what you say, unless
you could lose your job, you could lose friends, you could have social consequences for what you say. And what's happening right now, by the way, is that Laura is being sent to India on a diplomacy mission by the Israeli government because Israel just signed a massive cooperation agreement with India. So she went and deleted all these tweets, but let me just read two of them to you. One of them says, silly white people, stop watching Boy Meets World and turn on Bollywood so you can watch rape culture steal your job. And another one, okay, I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. India does have running water. It just runs out of people's asses. There's just a lot of posts like that.
The invaders drink the same drink from the same water they bathe and shit in. I have that on video too, coming to a city near you. Our country was built by white Europeans, actually not third world invaders from India. It was white Europeans. High-skilled immigrant doesn't have running water or toilet paper. LMAO. Average IQ in India is 76, best and the brightest. I've been to India. I've been to Calcutta and Mumbai. I will say, there's two different Indias. The one inside the buildings and the one outside of the buildings. And it is I don't think I've ever made comments like that. I was sick the whole time I was there. And I don't mean like I had, like parasites or whatever. I mean, emotionally, I had real small kids at the time. Like Joshua, my middle son, was 2.
Yeah.
And all these little babies, like, little 2-year-olds running, no parents, no older siblings, no pants, just their little puppies hanging around. And I saw, my kids in those kids. And I was there was one moment we were in a car, and this was in Mumbai, and looking out, and I had been just wrecked over the kids, because we're there touring facilities, right, to move jobs over there. We're setting up a captive, and so we were touring these different facilities. So we're sitting in these meetings, catered, servants everywhere, beautiful facilities. The hotel rooms are like palaces, right? But then you walk outside, there's no neighborhoods where the poor people are and the rich people are. It's all together. You walk outside of these beautiful buildings, and there's, kids with no pants and starving people. And the people that are pitching us to bring our work there, they don't see them because it's a caste system.
It's a caste system. So they're literally they're not even human.
They don't even register to them. And I was really, really struggling with that. We were in this car, and I look out the window, and there's these kids playing, and they have a puppy. And the puppy has like a rope around its neck. So I'm, thinking it's like a pet, and that's kind of a makeshift leash and whatnot. And we're watching, and all of a sudden, one of the kids takes the dog and just throws it against the wall. I screamed because I just couldn't imagine what happened. A couple hours later, I'm with one of my colleagues, and I tell the story to him, and he goes, "He'd spent a ton of time in India." He goes, "Don't worry, you'll get used to it." And I looked at him and I said, I hope not. I'm never coming back to this fucking godforsaken place. I hope I don't get used to that, because they all do. All, from a globalism standpoint, they adopt the mindset of the culture that they're going into. So they also don't see the horrors in front of their faces.
Yeah.
It was a very difficult time for me in that country. The people were beautiful. You'll hear her talk about the culture and the people and the, we're very loving. We're very kind. That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. It's by caste though.
Yeah.
Because they don't see.
And the reason that Laura's getting dragged right now is because she's a fraud. Is because she like spent years saying this stuff online, and then the only reason she's even in India, like lecturing these people on politics and trying to like build bridges, is because Benjamin Netanyahu sent her there after last week or 2 weeks ago. Israel signed this major cooperation agreement with India. So she's doing like an outreach program on behalf of the Israeli government because she's obviously Israeli. So that's what's happening. That's why everyone's mocking her. It's not because she doesn't have free speech rights.
Yeah. Today on Alphas Make Sandwiches, we did St. Patrick's Day. And so I was wearing a green pashmina because St. Patrick's Day. I actually got that in India on that trip. Okay, let's finish this.
Pull it back up on screen.
But I will say I don't have hatred in my heart for India or Hindu people. I'm an advocate for Hindus. I speak out against the brutality of Islam that has persecuted millions of Hindus around the world. And I don't come from a place of hatred. My comments come from a place of love for my people and my country.
Where do you see India-US relations go from this place? And personally, I believe you have some good news to share even on the personal front. I believe you plan to travel to different parts of the country now.
Yeah, I actually brought my fiance with me. I just recently got engaged, so I'm getting married. And I thought, wow, it'd be really great to do my engagement photos at the Taj Mahal. So I'm going to do some photos at the Taj Mahal for my engagement. It'll be exciting.
Well, congratulations, Laura, on that and your
Thank
engagement.
you.
And because I am a journalist, so allow me to paraphrase. So you correctly with what you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you are, where your stand on H-1B visas are, and you don't apologize, you're right. But for certain tweets which hurt the sentiment of the Indian community, you wish you hadn't said those.
Yes, I don't apologize for my tweets about H-1B because I do believe that it was very disrespectful the way that these big tech social media executives who have predominantly always been Democrat, then they wrote these big checks to President Trump and his administration thinking that they were going to be able to buy influence and come into the Republican Party and the MAGA movement, and that we were going to forget their support for open borders policies and their support for importing labor and their disrespect of the MAGA conservative base. I'm not apologizing for that, but the other comments, yes, I should not have said them, and I hope that people will be able to judge me by the advocate that I've always shown myself to be for
They
Hindu
will,
people.
because India is a really warm country.
Yes.
And they're going to embrace you. You're going to Taj Mahal. You're going to have
Yes.
a fabulous time. They're going to love you and your fiance because that's what we do. We have a lot of love.
Yes,
To
and
forgive as well.
I've seen that. I've felt a lot of love here in India. And
Okay, so what we'll end on is Laura Loomer is going to lose it when she finds out that the Taj Mahal was built by Muslims. Shah Jahan commissioned it to honor his wife Mumtaz Mahal.
Holy shit, that is so good.
Yeah,
That's so good.
So I thought that was nice.
Actually, if you don't have an outro video,
Well, I have one more video that I
Okay.
want to play because we didn't get into the Tucker stuff. I will point people to the Badlands Substack. Ghost has a very long take. I have a very long take. They are different takes on the whole Tucker Carlson thing that is happening. So if you want to hear them, and we'll be doing more of this. I think we like doing shows together, so we're gonna be doing more of them. But the kind of here's one kind of thing I just want to make sure people understand. She is the primary source, according to her. She's the primary source on the so-called DOJ investigation against Tucker Carlson for Iran, right? What now I heard today, I don't have the link pulled up, but that the administration has denied that that's a thing, that seems to be the investigation into Tucker Carlson for the Iran.
Yeah, that's what Mark Caputo reported. I think Caputo reported, and his sources seem to be pretty solid.
Social media click nonsense, right?
Yeah.
However, I find this fucking delightful. This is Loomer on InfoWars a few years ago.
Those of us who have been silenced have actually taken legal action.
Oh, I don't think they get it's a total war.
I want people to actually do something. Okay, we need your money. We need your support. Help fund my lawsuit. Give me some money to fund my lawsuit. But what are they doing? I want to know what people are actually going to do. My life is ruined. Does anybody understand how ruined my life is? I'm sick of it. I don't want to listen to people tell me that I'm a conspiracy theorist. They don't know what it's like to be me. My those of us.
Yeah. That was like 2018, I think. And
Yeah, so like, I mean, it just comes around in circles. Now she's trying to ruin other people's lives.
People should know that I think she got kicked out of college, or she got like suspended or something in 2015 because she started a ISIS fan club at like whatever school she was at.
I saw that too.
She started like an ISIS fan. And look, I mean, she did it ironically, I'm sure, but I mean, it's still just like an obnoxious thing to do, it's like that guy James Lindsay who spent 2.5 years writing a white paper on men using like masturbating with dildos, and then had it published in a white paper.
Rape culture at dog parks too.
And he was like, gotcha, like own the libs, and I'm like, ugh, I'm not really sure if we agree that you really
Zionist anti-Catholic sprint right now. I saw something of his today or yesterday.
Those people are all the worst. All right, we should end with this 2-minute clip of Trump crushing Lindsey Graham.
We don't have any rants. We don't have any boosts, so we're good on that front. Everybody, please hit the like button. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. Like button's the best way that you can help us. And Ghost. We'll get out of here with whatever video you've got here. Remember, everybody, that change happens one conversation at a time. So be brave and speak the truth. We'll see you next time.
I should drop, for instance, this guy, Lindsey Graham. You have a guy, he's one of the dumbest human beings I've ever seen. He runs against me, okay? He runs against me for president. He starts off at 6% and he hits me. And I start, although I did give out his phone number. I mean, that's right. But anyway, he starts hitting me, saying vicious things. And now he starts going down. He goes to 5%, 4%. He ends up at 0. Here's a guy running for the presidency. He's at 0. He leaves in disgrace, in my opinion. I think he's disgraced. He comes here. He thinks this is going to be good. He had like 2 points here, and I had 42, right? I was at 42. He's a sitting United States senator from South Carolina. He's at 2%. I saw him on television this morning, and I think he lost it. He's saying, Donald Trump, he couldn't even talk. He was shaking. The hatred. They say, what do you think of Donald Trump? Oh, he went crazy. The guy is a nut job. I mean, and honestly, I don't want his endorsement. I don't want anything to do with him. And his thinking, he says, I know so much he knows about the military. I could push him over with a little thimble. Boom. And I look at a guy like Lindsey Graham. Then I hear his theory on the war. You'll be in there forever. You'll be in there, and you'll end up starting World War III with a guy like that, too. We don't want World War III over Syria. Okay, we don't want do we agree with that? We don't want World War. But I watched him on Fox today. I have never seen a guy I don't think I've ever seen a guy so totally out of control. They mentioned my name. He went literally crazy this morning. So he got out of the race, Bill. He was at, is this correct? He was at 0. And he still didn't want to get out of the race. I often say these guys that are 0, why do they stay? Wouldn't you I think I'd crawl in a corner and I'd hide. I would just sort of put out a release. I've left the race. I wouldn't even give a news conference. I'd be too embarrassed. But anyway, I think he's a disgrace. I think Lindsey Graham is a disgrace. And I think you have one of the worst representatives of any representative in the United States. And I don't think he should run. I don't think in this state, remember, I was at 42 and he was at 2 when he was running. In this state I'm talking about. He was at 0 nation. I mean, the guy was at 0 nationwide. I don't think he could run for dog catcher in this state and win again. I really don't.